Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit is different. Culture and life we live in. Detroit, Detroit is different.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And in studio, I have somebody that actually is doing like a residency almost here, we could say, connecting with different things that we do with Detroit is Different. So, if you're connecting with Detroit is Different and doing something, it's going to be around culture, right? So, how familiar are you with Afro-Urbanism? If you didn't know, the person in studio today got a whole institute connected to it and a lot of cool Black folks from Detroit doing cool things. Lauren Hood, how are you?
Great. Thanks for having me, Kari.
Definitely. So your last interview was with Amp Fiddler. First off, rest in peace to Amp Fiddler. Always the coolest person in the room, no matter who's in the room.
Best.
Yes, that's part of the cool, the walk, the talk, and for sure, Detroit East Side, and one of the most creative thinkers ever. And our interview started where it was a traditional Detroit is Different story, talking so much about background and your background, and then you hit talking about music, and Amp was like, oh, well, I did venues here, venues there, and then the next thing you know, it was a Amp Fiddler experience. So if you check the archives, we can see the original Lauren Hood, which leads to this one, where we pick up so much more of so many things, not necessarily just since then, but since music and seeing how culture connects and the city connects and so many other facets. Like I say, I told you, I was like, this will be a fun discussion. Because
lay it on me. I need to revisit that old interview too. I have no recollection of what we discussed.
Well, we also had a Amp Fiddler introducing he was like, yeah, I had to go to a check it out. It's one of the most, it's a very engaged, entertaining. Studio is different and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But so the Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And you have fellows connected to it, Detroiters connecting and gathering so much that you're learning from a lot of these people that are taking courage to engage community in different ways, carry on traditions in different ways. You're asking some questions similar to what you would almost think definitely academic. So it's sociological, a little bit of cultural anthropology, and also
metaphysical.
There we go.
Is that what you were going to go for?
I like where you went with metaphysical. I like metaphysical. Yeah, let's do that. I like that. But I was going to also say a lot of people's philosophies that they've built from what they're doing. And then it's ages of people range as well.
Yeah.
Experiences, background, but
18 to 70.
Yeah. 18 to 70. That's a range.
Mm-hmm.
But it also really opens the eyes for the premise of this kind of too. Detroit is very different, as all of these are Black folks, but just from different perspectives.
Mm-hmm.
And all kind of still intersect at different times. Talk so much about this, not just this project, but the Institute itself. And what was it that you felt like people are not getting about so many of the Black Detroiters that you see?
Yeah. I think the big thing that was being missed was recognizing our inherent knowledge about place and culture as technical expertise. So there's always this will engage community and give folks a gift card. Meanwhile, all the consultants are making $400 an hour. I'm there's clearly within these standard planning processes a hierarchy of knowledge that was inaccurate. So if you are doing work in a particular place, the people with 40, 50, 60 years in that place, or even just 20 years in that place, have expertise that is as valuable as the planner with that technical expertise, and they should be valued at the same level. So it was important to me that people start to think about what an expert is differently, um, and how you it lends itself to, like, how people are treated in a process. If you don't think what they're bringing to the table has any value, there's a way that you engage those folks. And there's a lot that gets missed in the way that things are conventionally done here.
Mm.
So, that was a really driving force.
I love, like I say, I'm gonna like this discussion. I knew it. I love the way you already broke that down because yes, the $25 gift card is offered. Sometimes it'll be like a use of space of like
Mhm.
somebody's church, and
Sometimes it's
maybe it's
nothing.
like
It's
200.
just like, you lucky to be in this process at all. You lucky
Yes,
we even talking to you.
and it's for the community.
Yes,
And
allegedly.
well, that's yes, that is what's spoken. So
Yeah.
this often is up highlighted, and this is not to I'm gonna just say it, make it plain. So much of people talking about this resurgence of Detroit
Mm,
and all the good things that are happening in Detroit for Detroit.
mm,
And so many of the Detroiters not feeling included in this process.
mhm,
It's a lot of that goes on with these surveys, discussions, planning. I was looking at it's a contract that I saw that just went out when I was reading Bridge Detroit about
mhm,
um, I think it's like $300,000 or something like that for the planning of River Rouge to move forward.
mhm,
And what happens with River Rouge and what the master plan will be. And when
mhm,
people kind of know a lot about urban planning, master plans are always uplifted.
mhm.
You got some academic credentials in that world, but you also got the real life experience of living in some of these neighborhoods that you've seen some of these master plans. What was when you were going through the classes with this, kind of like, I guess, the experts, they get the $400 an hour and learning their process and their theory. How did the academic lens of this look as you were saying, hey, I think we need to include the people more?
Well, showing up as someone who is of a space that is being planned and, is undergoing rapid transformation, it occurred to me that, as I was in school to learn community development, so many of my um, peers didn't come from communities that were being
Develop.
planned.
Mm,
Yeah, they just lived in places that were already deemed, developed and
developed.
planned, and
Yes.
they didn't. I was like, "That's weird. Why would you even get into a discipline like this if not to impact the communities you are from?"
Hmm.
Um, so, I mean, that was always a driving force for me. I wanted to make better the place that I came from and still lived in. And the way you show up in a process and how you think again about expertise and whose voice has value lends itself to where you came from and your relationship to that community. It's really easy to do things that don't resonate with the people that live there if you aren't from that place and won't see those people again.
Yes.
And I was always like, "Huh? Why are you even here? Why are you even doing this work if you don't have a vested interest in it?" Um, and I realized, like, I could probably live anywhere, but I choose to stay in Detroit,
Hmm.
and because I have, like, lifelong relationships with people here, I can't just do the work at arm's length, like, I'm in it, you
Mm.
know? Um, and that impacts how you show up, you know?
So, so now I guess getting into your work with the institute, what was the catalyst that said, okay, I want to
Ugh.
create this institute and I want to center people
Yeah.
a lot more in community, as this is a classic. I have it on one of my old songs, but a Jesse Jackson phrase he said,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? It's like our communities, we're often looked at as we're objects, meaning that the places and things are more valuable than the people.
Yep.
And in other communities, they're looked at as subjects, meaning that
Mhm.
the people are more valuable. And I would even go as far as to say in Detroit, sometimes it's like a big question mark of welcoming in new residents of like the people that aren't even here
Mhm.
are way more important than the people that are here, which causes so many battles that I would have in my Walsh College days debating with my professors there
Uh-huh.
about place,
Yeah.
right? And you study so much about place. And it's one of my key arguments as you guys can check the archives of Detroit is different. Um, and about like capitalism, whereas I still am not as anti-capitalist as I see other forces at play that play out in socialism and communism, where it seems like definitely people of color, but more specifically, Black people are always looked at as objects and not subjects in this.
Mhm.
But one of the arguments I'd always give my professors, if like it's all about maximizing wealth, every place there is a luxury golf course will be an amazing place to put houses, and you can make way more money than a golf course.
Mm.
But a golf course is worth more money because who wants to play golf? Even the Golf Channel. I'd always give this example, another thing. I was like, that's how valuable the thought process of the person that golfs. And the person that golfs, and it's Black golfers, I know, but you know who they're thinking the person who golfs is. As our president owns many a country clubs,
Mhm.
right? It's that. It's that group. You're thinking that this wealthy white man
Mhm.
wants access to this. And this is going to be valuable and an asset that we want to have here. So we're going to take an expansive amount of land that we could put condos, we could put houses, we could put all of this other stuff here, but that's going to exist. And even as I always say, like the golf network point is, you know, BET, when I was watching BET, would be at like no hotels. But some of the worst hotels sometimes always have the golf
Mm.
network because the thought process is we want to make sure that one person that has to stay here one day could be tuned into golf because one day,
That is
hey,
an interesting analysis, Kari. You have thought very
yeah,
deeply about golf
yeah,
TV.
because golf
Interesting.
is one of those key gateways and it shows that this is a group that cares about what this is.
Mm.
In our community and what we care about is not tied into the culture, the traditions. It's like we have to maximize what that value is.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to maximize it for ourselves first.
Mhm.
What I recognized is, as someone who has worked on the inside, um, that system isn't changing. I think I used to come at it as like a disruptor, a reformer, trying to get those planning processes to, be more favorable towards people over property.
Mm.
But it occurred to me that that destabilizes the system and therefore will not work. um, those planning processes that come with, the RFP that goes out and the fancy consultants from other places that come in and lead them. Um, that infrastructure will always be there. So for me, it was a learning process to, instead of trying to get those processes and people to behave better, I was like, why do we even need to be engaged in those processes? We can do our own planning.
Mm.
Like those things will always exist in a certain way. And perhaps it is our value system that says, oh, there is something to be engaged with those. Let's try to get in there. Let's try to make it better. How about we accept that we have agency amongst ourselves and resources and start to develop our own processes about how we transform into the future.
I like it. I like it. So, in that, as you made that pivot, what were
Mhm.
some of the signs that led you to say, okay, self determination is going
Yeah.
to be
Am I
Coochie
allowed
Chocolate is
to
going to move
swear on
forward?
here?
Yeah, yeah, you definitely can.
Just in case, because I had a thought.
Yeah.
Um, but there's one example that I often use. So, in leading the community development organization I used to lead that was doing development work in an area where I grew up and went to undergrad and grad school. So I had a lifelong relationship with this community.
Mhm.
And I was a part of a group of organizations that oversaw hundreds of millions of dollars being dispersed into the neighborhood.
Mhm.
But the people in those neighborhoods were still living like second-class citizens. Like, for some of those folks, their lives hadn't changed. Like, one example that stands out to me is, like, the dudes that were living in front of or hanging out in front of the liquor store when we started were
Mm.
still there after, like, post $300 million being spent on, refurbishing storefronts, attracting businesses, whatever, whatever. And I was like, "Well, if the resources we've allocated don't impact those dudes, like, who is it for?"
Mhm.
Like, and instead of, again, complaining on the inside, like, "We need to do better." I was like, "Maybe I just need to start my own thing and model what that could look like."
Hmm.
Um, and it was an intentional shift also, because I had manifested a disease. I got sick. Being a disruptor, you're always looking over your shoulder, "They coming for you." And you've always gotta be the one person in the room saying the hard thing, and I thought, like, that was my calling. I felt like, well, I'm people allow me into this room based on, expertise I have or relationships. I'm in here. I need to be the one saying the hard thing. Um, but I wasn't physiologically well.
Mm.
I was angry all the time and tired all the time and on the verge of burnout, and it forced me to think about, and this is because I work with the law of attraction. It says whatever you focus on grows. So it occurred to me that I was focusing on gentrification, I was focusing on displacement. So the universe is like, "Well, you must want more of that because you think about it all the time." And I was like, "Okay, if that's how this works, instead of focusing on what I don't want, what does it look like to focus on what I do want?" So I had to ask myself this question: if I don't want those things, what are the things I do want? I was like, I want to see Black people living well. So, and thriving was the word that I used to embody how I wanted to see us living. So I was like, okay, instead of orienting in a way that's like anti gentrification, anti displacement, it is now pro Black thriving. And it seems like those are the same things, but just energetically, it's a much different orientation. It's a different language. It's a different like way of showing up. Like, I feel like we need disruptors, but also we need builders. And I think when I started the institute, um, people would be like, "Well, what's the audience?" I'd be like, "Everybody Black." But I realize now it is not for everybody Black. Some people identify as disruptors, and that's where they wanna be. I specifically want to be a builder. Um, Builder energy just works better for me. It's more aligned with how I wanna show up in the world. Um, but it was a conscious decision and an intentional one to reorient myself in this work towards the affirmative and what I wanna build versus what I wanna tear down.
That's deep. And that kind of goes into another one of my philosophies in the sense of I'm going to say Western civilization and culture is more focused on being destructive.
Mhm.
And I believe like our people in more Eastern philosophies is more
Mm.
focused on being constructive.
Yes.
Another one of those classic Cardi quotes too that I have is like
Yeah.
every so many of these science fiction movies that have aliens coming to take and extract and do
Yes.
things.
And we automatically are on the defense.
Whereas
Yeah.
I think if me and you were making an alien movie, we would make it come down, we'd be partying with them and be like,
Yes.
"Hey, what's your alien
I'm like,
music?"
"Over here."
Yeah.
I've been signaling to them that I'm available for
Yeah. It's like, what's
discussion.
up? We hanging out. It's like, yo, what's
Yes.
going on in Earth?
Like, "I knew you would come to get me."
Yeah, what's going on in Earth 400,000? What type of cars y'all driving? You know what I'm saying? It's like
100%.
you heard
100%.
this have you
I
heard
would not
Frankie Beverly and
automatically
Maze?
assume they want to,
Yeah.
end us.
And that's back to like how do you see the
Yeah.
world? And Western civilization for many reasons I think comes from that perspective of like one of the key things that I don't like that's such a baseline of capitalism is the idea of scarcity.
Totally,
And
that's
either
what it is,
forcing
like, we
scarcity.
must protect our earthly resources.
Yeah, or
Yeah,
it's a limited even when it's not like that. Like, as they always say, we throw
there's
away
enough
more
for
food.
everybody, totally.
It's enough everything for everybody.
Yes.
But the concept of scarcity also creates so many other things. So, like, even as I'm looked to shift to be like, how can I be more constructive? How can I be more creative? It's like a trigger that you keep going. As
Mm,
you've walked more in this path of that law of attraction and looking to build, be more constructive,
yes.
how do you keep that focus? Because still, so many of the things that lead to a lot of the disruptors lead to, some of the like, how do you stay in this focus of like, okay, I'm building here
Mhm.
and not necessarily saying, it's not a matter of all this other stuff because I
Yeah.
know it's so many times where people would definitely want to call you up and say,
Mhm.
"Hey, you seen this? And you one of the people that can change this."
That's interesting. I feel like I have a finite amount of capacity to do certain things,
Mhm,
and I have to ask myself anytime I take something on, like, is this the highest and best use of my energy and my gifts as I see them?
mm,
Um, and I don't know, I get fewer and fewer of those calls now, and I have been lucky enough in the creation of this institute to orient the work around my own research, so I don't really have to deal with nobody I don't wanna deal with.
mm,
You know what I mean? The whole, like, past few years has been interviewing Black folks who are thriving to see how we can reverse engineer it for more people,
mm,
and that is, like, ongoing. Like, I assigned myself the task of interviewing Black people who are living their best lives, so that is the work, and I don't really have to fuck with the disruptors if I don't want to.
yeah,
Um, I am, though, in this moment trying to understand how all of the research I've been doing over the past few years has an impact on policy. I think there is something to, like, having that one foot in City Hall. Like, there's a reason I did, like, Historic District Commission and Planning Commission and that reparations task force. Like, I need to activate some relationships around making this, have a sustained impact that's, codified in some way.
mhm,
Because I also don't wanna just be talking to the choir. So me and the other builders are, like, building this utopia over here, and it's just got, like, 8 people in it. Like, it needs to have a broader impact. So I am asking myself those kinds of questions, but I do feel like, we have choices, and I have chosen for myself that I just wanna, right now, activate with builders and visionaries and dreamers. Um, but yes, I feel lucky that I get to choose, you know? Like, and I can filter out the noise, like, all this stuff still shows up in my feed, and I can read a couple things. Don't let me see what Elena Harada is saying in a day because I can get enraged, and then I'm
yes,
like, "Ah!" But
yes,
I also have to, just reflect on the places in which I do and don't have power.
mhm,
That's kinda why I took myself off of planning commission and off of the task force because I feel like the way that I move naturally in the world just isn't effective in there.
mhm,
So I had to, I feel like I said, we're imbued with a certain set of skills, gifts, talents, and mine just don't work in that framework in the way that I was trying to apply them. So I have to try something else. I can't keep being like, I feel like, highest and best, we can be in flow here, and if there's something I'm trying to make happen and I feel like I keep hitting walls, I'm like, "That's probably not the right path."
mm.
There's another way to do the thing that isn't met with so much resistance.
Okay, and you come to this wisdom also, as you said, this was healing for your body too,
Ooh, child.
because the mind, everything that's going on psychologically was even impacting what was happening physically.
Yes.
So, can you talk about how healing it's been to move more so in this space? And what was that process like, even saying, like, okay, I need to change this because these stressors,
Yeah.
I think, may be a catalyst here.
It's hard because, well, it can be hard if you believe it to be hard. It's like you have to change your whole identity. So I identified as a disruptor. I self identified as the person who was going to say the hard thing in the room. So I would walk into rooms like, all tense and anxious because I knew at some point I was gonna say something that a bunch of people in the room wouldn't like. So I would walk in just, like, holding that anxiety and then say a thing and then leave feeling like, "Oh my gosh, what are the ramifications of the thing I just did? Did I just blow it all up? Who's coming after me?" Um, and just, flipping the script and orienting towards the affirmative. Um, I don't have those kinds of concerns anymore. And it's interesting, some people who know me as a disruptor will see me in a space and be like, "Aren't you gonna say, aren't you?" I'm like, I don't do that anymore.
Mm,
I'm a builder now. I'm over here uh creating a utopia with my people. Like that's gonna do what it's gonna do, but we're over here
mm.
like planning a different future. I think both are necessary. Like you need to tear down existing systems, but then what? I feel like there's not enough focus on the then what, and that's the space that I'm trying to exist in.
So, in this space, are there any through lines that you're finding as you interact and connect, interview so many of these Black Detroiters that are thriving?
Yeah. And globally. So it's been New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta,
Mm,
Berlin, and now London. I've
okay,
interviewed people in all those cities.
okay.
And that was also part of my own thriving.
Mm,
I had, when I initially thought about this, I was like, yeah, I'm going to interview 50 Black Detroiters and then go write a. And I was like, well, my thriving means I get to explore and travel. I love traveling and I love being introduced to new ways of thinking about things. I think travel helps expand your consciousness. So I was like, why am I just staying in Detroit? I have enough resources to take myself places.
mm.
So I was like, where do I want to go? And decided to interview people in those places. And I would say a major through line is understanding that these people relied on internal resources. I was expecting, like, I have this master's in community development and it teaches you, how to navigate a nonprofit ecosystem. So I went in still a little like programmed and I expected people to tell me about some nonprofit program that helped them overcome the do. Um, no, none of these people had a story like that. Like, it was a mentor from the after school program at Unite. No, nobody said that. Everybody was relying on either, a strong faith, um, and not necessarily, like, religious, but, some spiritual convictions, um, interpersonal relationships. Sometimes people were inspired by humans they didn't even know. Um, like, one of the questions in the interview is, like, "Who inspired you?" Like, one dude said, do you know MIA, the musician?
Mhm.
He was like, "I watched her move in this video, and the way she moved was so liberated, and she was a brown person, and I thought if she can move around like that, can I move around like that?" I was like, "Huh,
Mm,
okay." So just people, um, projecting what was possible in their own lives, um, based on what they saw somebody else doing that resembled them. So like representation sort of, but something a little deeper. But even to be able to look at what someone else is doing and believe is possible for you indicates a certain kind of person. Because for lots of these people, they would talk about having troubled home lives and they would be like, yeah, the situation was going on at home, but I knew it wasn't me. I
mm,
was like, "How do you know not to take that on as your identity when so many people you probably grew up next to, even in the same household?" So people with exactly the same lived experience. Some of the people would be like, "Yep, I guess this is who I am. This how life's gonna be." But like the other sibling would be like, I looked around and I was like, "This is not acceptable. I will do something else." Um, and that's the conversations they're trying to get at, like, where do you get that?
mm,
How do you know at, like, 7 or 8 that the set of conditions you're living in aren't you?
mm.
Um, yeah, and that's what I was trying to find out. But, yeah, again, it goes some people just self-determined, spiritual practices, just sometimes just a deep knowing that there was something better.
Yeah, and I also would say just from being present for, as I say, it's like the residency. Some of the interviews are
Oh,
happening
yeah,
in
you
the
were right
studio.
there.
So being present for them, and so many of these Detroit is difference I've done, it's also very, what would I put it like this? When you say thriving,
Mhm.
like
Oh, yeah, I should define how I'm defining that.
I want you to define that, but like even anything like success, thriving, I don't necessarily know how actualized it is for a lot of people, but I'm really speaking more so for me because I so much of it is connected to phrase my dad always used, the autonomy.
Mm,
That autonomy of moving through life without, I don't want to say any concern, but those pressures of like, this has to be done, or I got to get up, go to work, 9 o'clock, got to send this email. I got this deadline. I got this, I got that. Like the autonomy of doing something you're passionate about. Cause that was the through line that I saw in a lot of those interviews
well,
you
that's why
had.
everybody was selected. So everybody I interviewed, yeah, going back to the definition I'm using for thriving,
Mhm,
some degree of agency, abundance, and audacity. And that agency piece is looking at people who created their own things.
mm,
And the abundance isn't just financial abundance, but also like um, healthy relationships, work that is rewarding, just on an abundant frequency, not just like having a bunch of stuff. And I always use the example like I have a lot of friends and colleagues who make a lot of money and have prominent positions, but don't get to be themselves all day. So
mhm,
that's not thriving. And then the audacity is like, can you, in particular with this research study, I wanted to talk to people who were comfortable putting their blackness at the fore of their work because I think it's something in Detroit that says if you if you talk about black too much, you can't really be successful, you can't move up these ladders or whatever it is. So I didn't wanna talk to people that were, suppressing their culture to get ahead. I specifically wanted to talk to people who somehow put black in their work. It doesn't necessarily mean like Afro and dashikis, but we're comfortable somehow bringing the culture into the work. So that's the definition that I was using. So it did, yeah, you were gonna hear those stories about people that started their own thing because that's part of the criteria for interviewing them. And I do feel like it is a privilege to be able to not be tied to those things that you have to do in order to survive. But also so many of the people I talked to were broke, got homeless. In many instances, I remember one girl in particular, she was like, I can choose to continue living in the abusive situation I was in, or I was gonna be homeless for a minute. And she's like, I could not continue the abuse. So I got homeless for a minute and then she figured it out.
mhm.
It's like the only options were continue or take the risk of being homeless. And it happened, but the homeless for her was a better outcome than continuing in the situation she was in. So for all of these people, um, the alternative was worse. Even if the alternative meant failure, bankruptcy, whatever, it doesn't matter because the situation they were in is not the one they were going to continue. So they had to embody this um, new identity, even if it meant, some massive hurdle at the beginning of the journey.
Well, not to be too business school book here, but as John Maxwell will put it in one of his books, you fail forward at times. Like,
Mhm.
and even the whole concept of what failure is, as I always tell
Yes.
people, like the biggest lessons I've ever learned was in taking an L. Like,
Yeah.
like business, like all that business school stuff that I learned, and I mean it's cool, and yeah, I can do a lot of different, projections and analysis, prognosticate, a lot of that, right? But losing your shirt, boy, oh
Yeah.
boy, it it's like, okay, this is a different type of focus. And it also has tightened one of the key things that many of the people you interviewed have, I think, in abundance, and you have a lot of it, as I said, during one of the interviews, social capital. And social capital
Yeah.
in our community is so abundant.
Well, because 'cause we're communal by nature.
And that's what I think a lot of what I say, like the people that come to communities that study community development, don't really recognize, because it's deeper than just saying, like, when that planning meeting comes and that grandma comes to that meeting and she wants to stand up and talk about when they first got the home, what it meant. Like, if you're dismissive to that
Yeah.
and you think that it's more important to say, hey, but we're going to put this $400 million, I don't know,
Yeah.
training center, and it's going to teach all of the kids in the neighborhood
Mhm.
AI and coding, and they're going to be robots. So we don't care about you, Miss Pearl, right? What you don't understand is that she's the person that the community holds in high regard.
Mhm.
And that's the other thing I think about hard capital, meaning like cash and
Mm.
resources. So a person with more social capital is going to be supported by community. If you have hard capital, you're supported by self-interest.
Yeah.
So, like, for instance, if Bill Gates, for whatever reason, ends up stranded out here on the live service drive, he's gonna get help. But it's under the whole premise of, like, all right, now when I help him, I figure, you know what I'm saying? Now I got his number. I'm gonna slide him this resume. We're gonna have
Yeah.
to go through where every person he interacts with is so transactional,
Yes.
to the point where I don't even know the last time he walked in a room and said to himself, like, who's not going to be trying to make a pitch at me? Whereas if you
Yeah.
have social capital like the grandma, you know what I'm
Mhm.
saying, in this community, people are always abundantly going to her, offering things just
Yeah.
for her presence and who she is. Her being itself has the value.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a whole word for me right now because I feel like okay. At first, while you were talking, I was like, okay, taking the L. Can we call the L a lesson?
That's
That's
what
what
I
I
do.
think of. There's no such thing as failure. Because I
Mhm.
used to get, like I'm starting a thing and I was like, what if it fails? I'm like, what does failure even mean? For me, it's successful. I had an idea in my head and I turned it into a thing, you
Mhm.
know, um, that I put out into the world and now has an impact on other people. And I'm on year 5. And I don't know, there's an earlier version of me that would never have had the courage to even make the attempt.
Mm.
And now I feel like even if it ended tomorrow, it's done amazing work. So there's no such thing as failure. Did I learn a lesson? Like, that's how I look at that. But now I forgot. What else were we talking about?
And we were just talking about social capital and the
Oh, the
value of
social
it.
capital. Yeah. Oh, and my big L lesson recently is um I think I doubted the depth of the relationships I have in community because I have used a lot of resources to get things over the past few years, and I feel like I have overgiven because I doubted the depth of my social capital. So, yeah, the lesson for me coming up as I seek to be a better steward of my financial resources is gonna test some of my relationships, you know?
And I think that you're gonna be
Pleasantly surprised.
very surprised. Some stuff's gonna be like, I didn't see that from that. But it's gonna come in different
Yeah,
ways. It's like I told you. I
yeah.
judge that. It's like, I think you're one of those people that probably could couch surf for 10 years.
Yeah, what did you mean by that? That enough people would let me sleep on their couch for a long time?
Meaning, like, okay. I always say this about, you know him too. My homie Sterling. Love
I love
Sterling. And
Sterling.
Sterling is so connected to the artistry and his expression.
Mhm.
And I'm like, man, Sterling, you could couch surf for almost the rest of your life if you wanted to.
Mm.
But it's the concept of, like, hey, I'm gonna be in town. People will offer
Mm.
you the best. It's not like they're gonna be like, all right, now I got this little, you know what I'm saying, messed up, I got a messed up
Really?
blow up
See, I need
mattress in the
to hear
basement.
more of that because in my mind, I'm like,
Nah, I think that they will welcome you. It kind of like
um
when you hear those stories of, like, when people say that they had a, foreign exchange student,
mhm.
or you were a foreign exchange student and their whole family came and they met you and they was like, hey, eat some of this. You know what I'm saying? I think you would get that experience from so
We about
many
to
people.
find out.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. And I
Yeah.
know we don't think like this because this is the other part of the way this society goes, and capitalism is like ownership and possession. And really, what is that? Meaning,
Yeah.
like, what is ownership and possession?
Ugh.
Because
I think that's a concept they had to teach us,
yeah,
starting with the Native Americans. They were like, "We're in relationship with this land. What do you
mhm,
mean own land?
yeah.
What does that even mean?"
And even when you do, it's not like, okay, so like, the more you own, the more you're going to have to interact and create this transactional community.
Yeah.
You get a pool, you're gonna need a pool person. Because unless you gonna do that, and I assume if you are to the point where you buying pools, you probably don't have necessarily the expendable time to be the pool person and learn all the stuff you got to know to do
Mhm.
that. You know what I'm saying? You get a mansion, you're probably going to need a cleaning staff, and that's going to be transactional. Like
Yeah.
the more you get, the more you're transacting with all of this stuff, quote unquote, you own. If you share in community, the whole focus moves differently because now
Yeah.
different people take a different role in it. Like my interview with Jerron Howard, in the sense of just recently, I said, I think it's a lot of trash throughout the city because it's not a lot of trash receptacles that exist in streets. And then becomes the thing of like, who picks up, who's responsible for the trash. And he was like, yo, I think that if a program existed where you knew it was your day, you would maybe take the trash from that street
Mhm.
stop as he's thinking about his bookstore that's going to open
Yeah.
soon. He's like, it's two corner stores that are like not far from there, but it's no garbage can. So we're gonna have to do some type of program because it's
Yeah.
not like, and I'm not excusing the person that is just,
Throwing stuff out the
throwing
window.
out throwing stuff out the window or throwing stuff out as, they done with they hot Cheetos and they just throw it down. But
Yeah.
if a garbage can is there, I think
More
more
people would
people
use
would
it.
use it. Mhm.
Yeah. Well, there's some deep programming around it too. I feel like the reason you might see a lot of trash in our corridors is because we're programmed to think we have no sense of ownership of it. I feel
That
like
plays a
if you
role.
were in, like, downtown Birmingham, those people look at, even though it's like a retail corridor, this is like, "I'm of this place. This is a reflection of me. I'm not going to put this trash on the" like,
Mhm.
why would somebody do that? This is, a clean community. And I feel like we just, like, have a different relationship with the places we live.
I, I think that does play a role, but I also think if when you present, like, I guess all of these community projects, the more inclusive you have community in whatever is
100%.
happening, the more people will steward it.
I agree. I feel like that's why sometimes new businesses get broken into because whoever is, um I always wanna know who's behind it. Like, if there's a new business or so, even if it's just some event or a party, I'm like, "Who are the people behind this?" So
Mhm.
I feel like if the people don't have a relationship with the folks in the community, you're gonna have problems, no matter what your business is, if it's something people fucks with or not.
Very, very much so. Very much so. As living in this community, sometimes things go left. As a phrase that I know Tafari Brent, me Tafari up here don't like. Sometimes you got to pay tithes to the hood. You don't want to.
Yeah,
You don't want to, but that's also so connected to what is your relationship
right.
with the people? How do you engage? How do you
Do you live
function?
there?
Yeah. And even if you live there,
Love the
what
people.
is
Yeah,
how are you
still, what is your
engaging? You
yes.
know what I'm saying? Are you engaging
Mm,
in a welcoming way?
hierarchical way,
Yeah.
a transactional way.
Yeah, cuz
Yeah.
that can cause many a issue
Mhm.
depending upon who that person is, cuz some of the challenges and realities, thank God, I've never dealt with in this neighborhood. A lot of other people I know have dealt with where it's like, "Damn, that happened to you? For real?"
Yeah.
And then it's like, "Damn, I know who did that too." You know what I'm saying? So, like, that's messed up. You know what I mean? So, I gotta get all 3 sides of the story before I
Mhm.
can possibly change the outcome. And also in in kinda empowering, I think it's, like, different languages. I know I'm shifting back to, like, how does community get more involved in what's happening, quote, unquote, "developing" their community. And
I
and
want
when I
us to
s
have our own processes. I don't I no longer trust that those processes that the city run will ever get us where we want to go.
That's deep.
I've been all up in there,
Mm,
and I was like, "Okay, what if we did it this way? What
mm.
if there's just no way around the infrastructure that currently exists, to make it some way that, highly benefits us."
That's deep. I would just say valuing is just different because like you're not going to value that social capital of
Correct.
that
Those
grandma
processes don't
the same
value
way you're
those.
going to value the concept of like, Mark Zuckerberg said he's interested in doing something in the Detroit neighborhood. So if he comes to town, it's
He
like
can do whatever he wants.
why are we rolling out a red carpet for him and we're not even honoring the people that have been here for
That's the question.
forever?
We've been doing that.
You got that right.
Well, I think it's something like where we also need to do some deprogramming, myself included.
Mhm.
Yeah, and reflect on what is the value system that is guiding our decisions. Some of us will be like, well, if he wants to come here and do something, well, that storefront's been vacant for 20 years. Why wouldn't we let him do it?
Yeah.
Because I think there's this false frame that if we don't do that thing, then we can't do anything. And I'm like, there's a whole portfolio of opportunities in between, like that crazy thing the developer wants to do and doing nothing.
Yeah.
We just act like if we don't take what they're giving us, then we can't have anything, and that's not true.
I definitely agree. And I also think that, you know, sometimes you got to color outside the lines because they definitely do all the time,
Yeah.
you know?
I don't
So
think we feel like we have permission.
that's deep that you said. Yeah, because it does definitely take a lot of courage because the reality with a lot of most of these deals, like I always say, we had a half built jail across the street from an NFL stadium. All types of contractors, all types of government agencies, everything going on while they were talking about the improprieties of someone that was black that was dealing with jail issues. Nobody even answered a question in reference to that. That's a classic example of what's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it's like coloring outside the lines and placing the stuff that we would like to see.
Yes.
And I think that's what was so cool about a lot of the arcs of like some of the place-based stuff that I hear about different eras of Detroit, but even some of that era of Detroit that I experienced in some of these places was like, this is for us. Hip Hop Shop is a classic example of that.
Yep.
The Hip Hop Shop was probably the size of, I don't know, maybe my downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where hip hoppers really wanted to go and to connect with. And it created that space where Maurice Malone was cool with it and the culture carried it out.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Somebody put up some post about Trapper's Alley. It was the other day, and they were like, Trapper's Alley was a mall. I was like, I never looked at Trapper's Alley like it was a mall.
Interesting. I mean, technically it was. There was a group of stores and restaurants.
I guess, but it just never felt like it felt like this is uniquely Detroit.
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas the casino comes there and it just changes the whole concept of everything I think about Greektown.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's a Kari thought, right? You know what I'm saying?
Definitely has a different vibration now.
Yeah.
Casinos are some low vibrating spaces.
Yeah.
Just,
casinos are, it's like you go to a casino, it's a casino.
Mm-hmm.
You know the casino experience. It's almost like, bam, stamp everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Trapper's Alley was, I don't know, it's like I would almost like wish I could get.
It's kind of a cultural center because I'm remembering the stores weren't the mainstream stores. And they used to have a Harmony House in there. I feel like I used to get music in there.
Yep.
It was a music store, but there was also like African clothing stores and jewelry stores.
Yep.
So it felt like a cultural center.
Yeah,
more
like
than a
if
mall.
you, like Dally in the Alley, like if you made necklaces out of spoons, you can sell it there.
Exactly. Yes.
So it's like, where's the spoon necklace?
We need
maker?
more of that, and not necessarily like, that output, the spoon necklace, but the set of dynamics that allows somebody who's crafting something of their own design to sell in the marketplace.
Yeah.
With like a low-ish barrier to entry.
Very, very much so. And now, just from all of the events I do, boy, oh boy, the permitting for everything, it's like, damn, you know?
Right.
And even that, it's a lot of coloring outside the lines that go on with that because it's
Mhm.
like, what is this made for? You know what I'm saying? Who is this for?
Mhm.
And now that's still talking about these other systems. As you think about new processes and new
Yeah.
systems, what do you envision?
Um, that is a great question. Well, one that we just talked about, low or no barrier to entry.
Mm.
Like my mind went to, so I went to the continent for the first time year before last, and
Where did you go?
went to Ghana and Senegal.
Okay.
And one of the first things I noticed in Ghana was the marketplace and how everybody was selling everything, and I don't know the rules and regulations, but it looked like it was like an open free market. Like, the women would have the baskets on their head carrying, like, peanut butter brittle and shea butter and, other things that they would make at home. Like, what I call it? Like, I don't know, garden to grocer, whatever,
Mm.
stuff they would make and then bring it immediately to sell.
Mhm.
And then the dudes would be selling, like, phone chargers, just random electronics, but it was stuff that people needed,
Mhm.
obviously, or they wouldn't be selling it, and then lots of the handcrafts, like the textiles and things that would be made in the villages, and it just occurred to me, like, anybody can, um, find something that they have to offer, that they could sell at the marketplace that would sustain them.
Mm.
So there's not really, like, anybody who's left out because they can't fill out a piece of paperwork or don't have a bank account that meets a certain threshold. Just anybody could, learn a skill, and they're very our ancestors over there are very skilled in making things. So I feel like everybody, like, they probably take for granted the level of skill and expertise they have. Because I got some clothes made. It'd be like a young person, like, in their 20s or something, making me this super finely tailored thing. And,
Wow.
like, the women would be like, um we went to the villages where they were making, um, like, mud cloth and things and, like, I don't know, just highly skilled. People can just do stuff, and then you can just take it to the marketplace and sell it. If
Mm.
you wanted to do that here, it'd be like you have to find out who's in charge. There are certain hours in which you can operate, and you
Mm.
need a license, and you need a permit, and there's just no.
Insurance.
Yeah, insurance. There's just no barrier. People
Mm.
are like, "I made a thing, I'm about to go sell it."
Yeah.
Like, think about the opportunity that offers people to, take care of themselves.
Mm.
Um, I don't know, that was a big reflection for me, just people like, "Oh, you just come over here and sell the." Huh. So all of these rules, regulations, policies, practices are a barrier for many of us to just taking something to market.
Definitely. Hey, you can say that again. And now also it's just so much money in that other space, in the middleman space,
Yes,
you know.
because you will pay people to help you navigate that system,
You'll
for
pay
sure, and
people.
you gotta pay to
Mhm.
fill out some of these applications.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So it
Yep.
oughta at each threshold, that's another round of people that aren't gonna participate.
That move further and further away from
Mhm.
the actual person that really wants to buy it and the
Yep.
person that makes really wants to make it. That is so many
Mhm.
others in this mix, let alone if you get financing, because now you got a bunch of other people that are worried, that are pressing you about getting their money back under something that you do.
Yep.
You know, I don't know if you read the she wrote like a lot of information. The I forget her name. The lady with the slutty vegan spot in Atlanta,
Mhm.
where everything was moving so fast, where she's
Yeah.
like, "Nah, I got to pull back."
Yeah.
You know, cause like within the success and everything happening and all this investment and all these other
Didn't they try to
stakeholders,
take it away from her?
mhm,
Yeah.
all these other stakeholders aren't.
Aligned.
Yeah, that's the best term. I like it. They aren't aligned. They
Yeah.
not in it. They're not in this. They're in
Right.
this for the transaction of making money.
Yeah. She's trying to
Not
get her people healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in a way that tastes good,
Yeah.
that people connect with it.
Yeah.
So all of that in the process, definitely the maker getting closer to the person that wants
Yeah.
what's made, that definitely is, and it shouldn't even be provocative, but it's provocative because all of the inertia of everything else between it. So I like that. I definitely
Mhm.
could see that. What about other through lines when you think of as far as those connections? Because this fellowship had you all traveled a little bit too.
We
S-
did.
So what connections did you see between all of these builders?
In the places that we went to.
Yeah, and just like, or just in passing, what connections did you see made, or conversations or observations
Well,
with
one
each other?
thing, there wasn't a lot of or any really tension or animosity. It was a very affirming environment. And I was intentional about like I view this fellowship program as like an experiment. And so one of the factors I wanted to control for, like it was just all black every time. And I just wanted to see um what is the energy like if it's just us every time we go somewhere, right? And one of my reflections is there was no I don't know, sometimes I feel like if you're in a mixed space, people can get to performing.
Hilarious.
And there was no need to 'cause it was just us all the time. And there was no like people weren't on guard. Like sometimes you're like, ugh. Um, and the conversations just kind of flowed and got vulnerable fairly easily. And I think it's because it was just us.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it was very, very affirming. Like somebody, if anybody showed up like not fully in possessed of their power, people be like, come on now, and like pour into them. Um, yeah, that's one big takeaway.
So that's also something that goes where like that's the gaining of social capital. Like really
Mm,
pouring into someone, not with money, but with like that presence, that
yeah,
wisdom, that love, that spirit. So to witness that, those connections are deep because that's really when I hear those stories,
yeah.
especially rest in peace to my mom. But my mom was so much like abundantly like that. Like those
Mhm.
stories that a person like stops you in passing, like, hey, it's still so many people. Your mama did da 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 da. And I'm like,
Mm,
nah, but that's dope. You know what I'm saying?
wow.
So you gain it in favor, and sometimes that favor is the hug or is to keep your head up because in the interviews, it gets into some vulnerable spaces about like people healing physically and
Yes.
mentally, um, and growing from that too.
Yeah, I think a lot of seeds were planted. We won't know the full impact of our year together for, I don't know, maybe even years to come, I think. Lots of seeds were planted.
That's another word that definitely focuses on capitalism. This may be like the most anti-capitalist, as they say, Detroit is different ever from Kari speaking about it, but we're unpacking. You got me through this discussion going into these layers, but outcomes is something that I really think that this society focuses on
Oh my gosh,
too.
and especially, that everything I do is funded through foundation grants,
And
and that
they
is they're always like, "Well, what's gonna happen as a result of this program?" I don't know.
yeah.
I
And,
can only speculate, I can't make stuff happen,
but
but it's an experiment.
that also is one of those pressure
Yeah,
things because it's like outcomes. It's not worth doing it unless you get to this outcome. And
right.
I'm not necessarily saying that to like have a destination along the path
Yeah.
is something that I
I think
think.
I even wrote it in such a way that it was like the outcomes would be people would be more self-determined and more connected to one another and more, um resolute in whatever they were working on. I think I made it more about, personal development
Mhm.
outcomes and not like, you know, this is how Detroit changes or the diaspora changes.
'Cause a lot of you know, I live in a neighborhood with one of the largest at one point in time nonprofits in the world, like down the street, right?
Mhm.
And, it all looks good on paper. it all looks good on paper. You would think from some of the stories said about some of the stuff that happens here, you like,
Yeah.
damn, where is that at? Like, you mean down the street from me? Oh, hell no. That ain't the reality down the street.
Right.
Whereas the impact, the outcome is so variable. It's similar to like what you said. It's like if the guy is still, now he's
Right.
just across the street at the other liquor store that didn't get a beautification grant. Like,
Yeah.
did that
If he's still
resolve
not
the people thing?
engaged. Exactly. Yeah. Um, I think that a lot of the benefit of the program is going to be new relationships and deepening of existing relationships. Like everybody kind of knew each other before we started, but now that we've traveled together and been in deep dialogue with each other, a lot of those relationships got deepened. I know that's one thing for sure. And just like the goal was to introduce these 8 superheroes from Detroit to like their counterparts in these other cities.
Mm,
Um and the thinking would be that, there's something emergent there, like perhaps there's a collaboration brewing or some kind of idea exchange.
yeah.
Um, so that's what I mean about planting seeds that might matriculate into something in a few months or even a few years, but we don't know yet.
And sometimes it's the presence of being there as
Yes. Oh, yeah. Even just being inspired by the spaces themselves. Like everybody got turned out on Tulsa.
mm,
Um, And, right before the trip, I was like, I really want to go to a country ass place like Tulsa. What? Because I'm a city person.
mm,
And I was like, I don't know. But yeah, totally inspired by it. I appreciated the opportunity to slow down. We went and hung out with this black farmer and his wife on their land, and they walked us around on the things that they grow. Um, they served everybody chicken that was freshly murdered. I don't eat
okay.
meat anymore, but they were like, we killed this just, the other day. It's from our farm. Everybody's like, "Oh my god,
Yeah.
this is the best chicken I've ever had."
I've had some of that before at a family reunion. It was weird because
So
it was
there's
on a
yeah,
plantation. It was like, but still, some of the best chicken I ever
yeah.
had. It was
So
like,
it was a lot of things to reflect on, like, oh, what would it be like to only eat food that I grew and knew
that
how it
fresh.
was. Yeah, there was that fresh and like that cared for.
Mhm.
I don't know. There's something to that. So yeah, we'll be changed in many ways.
So now, like, and it's so much even like outcome and impact, all of these are like as if like things have an end. Whereas I
Mm.
think that's a very Western thought, whereas more Eastern,
Interesting. No, it's ongoing. Yeah, yeah.
it's always
Trajectories are changed. So the
yeah,
whole yeah.
cyclical,
Yes. Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the right to left, up to down,
It
light to
just ends
dark.
in
Yeah.
yeah, the program ends in the way that we've been doing it. Like we're not gonna well, we might still meet every month. I don't know. Probably with less frequency though.
But see,
Um,
this is where I think
yeah.
that's where that social capital comes into
What
play. So
everybody's
like
already talking about.
if you
Yeah.
pull back and then someone else steps up and says,
Yes.
"Hey,
Like here's how we could
we gonna
continue.
keep this going, but
Yes.
this will be my iteration of the gathering." Which
Totally.
will have a whole nother feel, bring out new energies,
Mhm.
and that's something that definitely a foundation and philanthropists would be like, I mean, but it's like I would turn around and say, like, what are y'all doing?
A couple of us are like, we're in it for life. We are in this, like
Mhm.
some people are gonna fall off,
Yeah,
and not stay engaged in the same way, but there's at least the core group of us that are going to continue to be a deep part of each other's lives,
I
for
mean,
sure.
I definitely know. Even as we were talking on the porch, and I was like, okay, my goal is like I'm like my dad. It's like 60, 90 days out. You was like, you got to see more abundantly than that. You were like, I got an abundance partner with it. I was like, okay, I got to step back and relook at this and revision.
Yeah. Well, um that is one of the deeper conversations we have as a group about abundance.
Mhm.
I am ready to step into soft life, and
Mm,
it is real growth for me to be able to say this on the record
mm.
because I feel like people will judge you a certain kind of way if you talk about wanting to have financial abundance. Um, I do better work when all my shit is taken care of. Like me moving money over there to put it here and then keeping track of when I gotta like I am much less effective at the gifts I have been imbued with, sharing those and making change happen in the world, I'm much less effective at that when I have to worry about resources.
Mhm.
Um, but I feel like in particular with the activist community locally and probably globally, it's like people think that you can't really have a firm grip on the problem the further you're removed from it. And to a certain extent, I see that as true, but I think that doesn't also mean that I can't have nice things. I
Well,
have a level of comfort now as a middle-aged woman that I have a threshold. And there's some stuff I would have put up with as like a 25-year-old and a 30-year-old where I'd be like, "It's okay." It's not okay anymore. I know what I need to be comfortable, and
mhm,
it's just a little more, expensive than it
mhm.
once was. So there's a certain level of resources I need to maintain my comfort level, and like I said, even saying that out loud, it seems like, I'm becoming more capitalistic, but I also have to just recognize that money is energy. It's just energy. Um, and for me to be able to do the best at my work, there's a certain way that I need to be taken care of. And even the places I go to, I'm at a point now where I go to certain places and they're like, "Hello, Miss Hood. How can we take care of you, Miss Hood? Do you need
Mm.
XYZ, Miss Hood?" And those are things that I haven't necessarily been exposed to a lot in my adult life. And as a woman who travels solo a lot, um, it's a certain level of comfort to know that there are people looking out for me, even if they are paid to do so. Um, it's a way that I like to move in the world. I want people to engage with me in a certain way. And I feel like sometimes that just comes with having more resources of a certain kind.
Okay. A lot of points I wanna hit on
Mhm.
with what you just shared.
As we have had an anti-capitalist podcast up until now this
Nah,
month.
nah, 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 nah. I was gonna come from this perspective
Mhm.
too. It's a lot that believe like, and it's truth to this. And I just don't ever believe in absolutes. That's another one of those things in capitalism. It likes to push a lot of absolutes, you know. But you need struggle to progress. And like you can struggle through love and struggles are part of this. I think
Say more about that. You don't
I,
think you can progress without struggle?
it's back to the like you say, are you going to be a disruptor? Are you going to
Mhm.
be a builder? It's that same lens in which how we see it.
Hmm.
So it gets tough, especially in our community and with our people, because it's so much from the lens of back to this value, and we're not seen as what's valued. So the struggles seem to be so abundant where we're not valuing the things that are very abundant that we do have. So I know I'm sounding real sterling here when I even say this, but it can be guilt almost to move forward. Like they call it like
100%. That's what we've been struggling with as a group. Because some of us are more Audra always calls it an odyssey, and we know that we are in a period of, great transformation and ascendance even, and the discussion is about, like, how dare we ascend when there are so many people around us who won't,
in
and it
this.
holds you back. If you are even asking that question, you are not. I have another, like, peer mentor who's like, "You are, like, laughing in the face of the creator if you have been imbued with certain gifts and you aren't maximizing the potential for those to have impact because you worried about, um, other people who can't go on the journey with you." And when she framed it like that, I was like, "Ooh, um, if if you believe in a higher power and you believe you've been gifted with something that can change the world in some way, um, even if small, and you are not using it to its fullest potential because you worried that other people can't go or you're gonna leave people behind, like, that's, is not being great."
I, I got to drink on that for a second, but I like where that's going.
'Cause I would not have, embraced this way of thinking had it not been framed that way to me.
I,
'Cause it seems selfish to go it solo.
and see, this is where, yeah, definitely people not gonna like this because I'm often taught like, oh, you focus on your thing. It's like
Yeah.
I have such an interesting relationship with the community works that I offer.
Mhm.
um, and learn so much more from others that see themselves in community in different ways. Because even how
Mhm.
we define how we engage with community, it's all so based on our relationship to how we function.
Mhm.
I personally think I need you at your best. So sometimes you at your best, you're going to do an act that looks selfish, but now I get you at your best. Because if I get you at like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or I'm here, so you come in just because I'm here. You're not ready to embrace whatever this experience is or move on this journey depending upon what it is. And I'm very passionate about this. You're going to impact the flow of where I'm coming from, which
Mm.
is going to impact the flow of like everything that's connected. So it's oftentimes like people say, like, yo, man, you doing a lot of shit with Detroit is different. Can I get a job? I'm like, I don't got a job for anybody.
Yeah.
I have opportunities
Yeah.
and I like to see what you're passionate about. Do you really care about this?
Yeah.
I'd rather just give you the $200 you need
Yeah.
than for you to tap dance and act like all
Mhm.
down with all of the production stuff we doing and to sit in front of a screen and look at editing and color correction and me show you all of this stuff. And then you really are just thinking, I need this
Just $200.
$500.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That now is going to have impacts on how I'm looking at this.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Now, do I have to always be in a space where people are as passionate about what I'm as passionate about? No, because that life, I don't know what that would be like. But definitely, if we're going to engage more, I think people need to be at their best. So, like, my systems are definitely very odd for so many people. Like, my flow is a Akari flow. Like, I got my 45-90 rule. I'm usually at places 45 to 90 minutes, which is cool for me. But for others, if you want to embrace it, that's different. But I got to get back to putting other stuff together, even if sometimes that other stuff together is just sitting, watching some comedy, or sitting in a room in silence, sitting listening to music, thinking about what's next. Like, these are the things that help pour into me so that I can keep moving. And there's so many people that I think that are in that space in struggle where you like almost like they're walking through purgatory in our community because they haven't tapped into purpose. They haven't tapped into passion.
Yeah.
Um,
Again, I think it goes
it's
back to
tough.
permission, though. I feel like if you are surrounded if
Hmm.
your surroundings are just everybody in struggle, and
Yeah,
you're like, "Where do I get off thinking I can transcend this?" So you
yeah,
make yourself stay in struggle so
yeah.
that you can have community. Because ascension is lonely. Do you know what I mean? Being in full possession of your earthly and spiritual faculties is lonely sometimes, and it's much easier to just, "Well, I wanna stay in community, so Imma stay in struggle. Imma choose struggle
Eh,
so
I
that I can stay related to all these people."
I would say you, and this is just me.
Because we hold each other back too. Because how many times do people say, "Oh, look at you, playa." Like, you
Hmm.
know what I mean? You get a couple cents to rub together, and then all it takes is that one person to say that one time,
Hmm.
and it just plants a seed where you're like, "You know what? Let me just shrink myself."
And it becomes tough, I guess, if people quote unquote like it's like value, worth, deserving everyone else in this space, but everyone else has so many other stories. And it can also be like especially growing up in the hood I grew up in, it's like I had a line in one of my songs. It's like we was like the Cosbys on the block. You know what I'm saying? Mom, dad, me,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? My sister, my dad's growing his business as an entrepreneur, my grandmother and my great aunt helping build that. But you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
My homie across the street, you know what I'm saying, struggling. His father was doing well till addiction and abuse and other stuff starts coming up. And we're just functioning differently. So it can be like or the classic. We was always, you talk white. So it's like, damn. So I'm already like a other black person and how this functions and all of these
We could have
things.
a whole conversation about that.
But you also, which this is some of the reality and community through the comedy and the jokes, some of it's definitely through real and pain, and some of it's from creating community. It's this space of exactly what black entertainment is. It is like a space where it is some pain, it's still some joy, and still some connection can be made. So as you ascend, I think part of the ascension, it just changes some of the dynamics of certain relationships, but some of those relationships you're going to inspire more because you're going to be that MIA dancing for somebody to be like, I can do that shit.
Exactly. But I'm just acknowledging the extent to which I have not fully expressed myself in order to maintain certain relationships or even to maintain a certain identity. It's me controlling what I think people are thinking about me. So in order to control that, you can't.
No.
But I have told myself that I could. And I was like, well, if I live in this certain way, people will think this way about me. And I guess what I'm also reflecting on is I don't think I'm humble. I think I've been performing humility. I would like some accolades for my work. I would like to be recognized and celebrated. And I think, and I'm using my gut to help me, like, have this honest conversation. Like when I see people getting awards and stuff and celebrated, I'm like, I'm doing good work. I want somebody to acknowledge it. But like on the surface, what I tell myself is like, oh, they're so self-important. So I'm in a period of rapid growth right now.
I would say that,
and I'm being vulnerable and reflecting on these things. So hopefully other people can, like learn from it and reflect too.
I would say as you're building,
yeah,
and you're building new realities, and this is just Akari coming from certain spaces with it, it's sometimes hard for even people to catch up and contextualize what's happening. It's way easier for a person to give an award to, hey, they got, they took the same money and they built 15 subdivisions because we have a thought process. That's what happens, and this is how you do it. And this is like, that's how you can look at what's happening. But when you're creating so many realities with the work that you're doing and how it's being done, it's hard even for sometimes people to say, like,
conceptualize, to know us, to see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you,
and especially since I'm over here hiding and not posting about it.
Like when you think about, like when they give those lists of like, these people didn't get a Grammy, these people didn't get a Grammy. Let's go to Parliament Funkadelic.
Have they never gotten a Grammy?
Definitely not when they were starting out, but you got to think about like what you're seeing and what you're experiencing at that time. And I mean, I'll just hear the stories from my dad, but like you're experiencing like man on stage with a diaper, Satori, like classical instrumentation, people that play with Motown, and it's like 80 people on stage saying, we want the funk. Like, this is like...
And when you watch, have you seen the funk documentary?
I've seen a couple of them. Which one you talking
I don't know, the one that recently screened at the Charles Wright. I was just going to say that, like, in that movie, it shows you how many celebrated musicians were inspired by them. So even if they didn't get the awards, they inspired all these people that did get the Grammys.
Because you can't contextualize
what's happening.
Especially like when that album's coming out, and this is no knock against, and this is no knock against them because I like some of their music too. But then the Eagles comes out and it's like, okay, we know what this is. It's a band. They have lead singers. We know what's going on here. You know what I'm saying? It's not like... You know what I'm saying? It's like...
It's hilarious that the Eagles were your example.
But that's what I just threw out.
Hotel, California.
Yeah. It's like, okay, we know what this is. But that's another... It's funny you bring up that song. And that's actually... When that album came out...
Hit, right?
No, when that album came out, they said this is the worst album they've ever made. They should have been stopped. Everything. Right?
They should have been stopped a long time ago.
Yes, that was the one that they said was the worst, but that was the one that they
Interesting.
wanted to connect with too, and that is an amazing hit. But it's
Yeah.
like sometimes it
Probably on the
just-
radio somewhere right now,
I'm
locally.
sure. I'm sure.
All the time.
I am sure but it takes a while. I think
Interesting.
sometimes when it's
People to get
new
it.
for
Yeah.
people to even get what is going on with this. I
That's
mean,
true. And it's only my when I'm in a period of low vibration that I'm like, I really don't care. I'm so grateful that I get to determine what I do all day. I really wanted to
that's the autonomy.
I get to when friends of mine are talking about people they got to work with and
Yeah.
is this kind of relationship, are they doing something with
Mhm.
some organization over there and all the bad things are happening. I'm like,
Yep.
I don't have that problem
It's
anymore.
like I got to get on stage with this white man that just is tearing up the community, and I got to
Yep.
take a picture because they going to invite you to this event, and they going to be
Nope.
like, "Hey, we just want you to come on stage, and
I get to
everybody
work
that's
with
there,
exactly
and you
who
gotta,
I want to work with.
gotta-
I
oh.
determine who I interview. I determine like the fellowship, like who we engage with, what cities we go to.
Mhm.
Like I am writing the entire script. And
Yep.
I am eminently grateful for that. It's only sometimes when I see the thing and I'm like, I tell you one in particular.
Mhm.
So, one of my colleagues that I was in Leadership Detroit with, nominated me for Michigan Chronicle, like
Women, what you call it?
maybe one of those. I don't know. It was one of those lists, and they didn't give it to me.
Hmm.
I think I'm more inclined to feel a certain way if it's a Black organization that I don't get the thing from, because sometimes I feel like the other kinds of institutions, like I know how to play those games and get those awards.
Mm-hmm.
I want one from my people.
Yeah.
I don't know. So when I didn't get that, I felt a kind of way.
Well,
She nominated me, and I was like, "Oh my God, thank you so much for even thinking that I am worthy of this thing." And then they were like, "Nah."
I'm gonna say this.
I was like, "Is my work not?"
No, I think what you're doing is definitely that. I would say definitely some of the ways that editorials have gone there. I don't necessarily know.
Oh my God,
Their work is black
that's
enough.
a whole other
you know?
conversation.
So
yeah.
you know what I mean. But
How many panels are you gonna have with Dan Gilbert on it? Like, damn.
yeah, hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, they got to keep the lights on. You know what I'm saying? But that's one of them questions you got to ask, because it's like,
Yes.
if you get there and then you get on stage and Dan Gilbert's like, I gave the money, now you got to take the picture with Dan Gilbert,
Right?
and it's like, what do I do in this situation? How do I go about this? But it's a lot of like, it's like, what can you stomach? So some people can stomach this path because autonomy comes with its own. Like life is
True. It's very
it's up and down.
uncertain.
Yeah.
It's very uncertain right now.
You could be certain but unsettled with all of the bullshit that you got.
Right. And I want to, accept that words are spells. Let me not say it has been uncertain until this point, but I believe a pathway will be revealed where the work can be self-sustaining. And it goes back to like what Dewan is doing. So, like right now, Dewan has a bunch of foundation money, but the ultimate vision is to have us support in a subscription kind of way, this fund existing in perpetuity.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I'm a Black Leaders Detroit giver for multiple years. At first it was started with Dewan, but now that Sharia's over there, Sharia's one of my real good friends. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna give.
I love her energy.
Yeah.
But like that's the whole framework. We could be sustaining our own projects and institutions and
And I think that parts of those also speak to what social capital is and what that
100%.
connection is. So like
yes.
also who stewards that? Like,
Let me just put that on the record too. That is my next frontier.
Mhm.
I like talking about how much money I've raised because my former board chair on the organization that didn't continue my contract on my way out said I couldn't raise money. So, and I believed him. I was like, I will never work in this town again. What am I going to do with my life? But I've raised $3.5 million from my organization.
That's what's up. That's what's
What
up.
I'm saying. In 5 years, not overnight.
Mhm.
But I also understand that philanthropy isn't sustainable. Like foundation grants are not a way to permanently sustain my organization. So that next frontier is going to be getting those who have resources to invest in a long-term kind of way. So I just want to say that in my out loud voice.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Oh man, it was one of those stories I was about to tell about that I think is real cool and on point with that. But yeah, people are definitely way more present for what's new, because that's the other thing. We want what's creative. We want what's new.
Yeah.
And the more inclusive that it can be, I believe, it'll tap. You'll be surprised of like more of what's going to manifest from this that does
Right.
connect, because it's a new gateway. And like you say, like with the disruptors, it's definitely spaces and places and people to kind of go to, as this is my thought process. They're the experts at that.
Yeah.
You can become the expert on the work that you're
Better.
doing, of
Yeah.
what's
An
new, what's
alternative to that.
abundant, and what's building in our community
Can I
for our
tell
people.
I want to tell the disruptors, like, also take care of yourself.
Mm.
Don't get married to this identity you might have as the person in the room who has to do the tough thing. You can make the kind of change you want while also prioritizing your well-being. And I didn't know that as a disruptor,
Mm.
because I saw everybody else around me on the verge of burnout and mad all the time. I was like, I guess this is how we have to live if we want to, like, have this kind of impact. But it's a choice. Because
Mm.
even the way you talked about in the beginning of this conversation, you have little things you do that allow you to pour back into yourself.
Mm.
I don't think many of us know what those things are.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah, and it's different in different stages and plays, but like
Or people feel like they have to hustle so much that they're like, or into myself.
hilarious
Right?
about like
Way hustles harder. Like, that's our whole mantra.
I
Like,
think
we gotta outwork each other. I'm not, I'm trying to be in flow. I'm not trying to work any harder.
yeah,
I've done the hard work. I've learned the lessons. Yeah, I'm ready to just be in flow.
yeah, and connecting with those things too, because you can also have guilt about creating what those things are, what those
Even
things look
thinking
like.
about it. I know there are
Um,
people who would be listening to this and be like, "Ooh, like taking care of myself. They must not work as hard as I work." Or, they must not have as many kids or as many bills or as big a business.
yeah, it's definitely that. It definitely comes at different balances, and what would I say? Um,
Just take a
it's
walk, everybody.
it's ways to figure out what that is for who you are, and it also goes back into like how our society is, and how it functions. Sometimes tapping into these new things, you're gonna get like you may get outside of your comfort zone, because so much of your comfort zone is putting yourself in this space and place of what you think your definition of whoever you are.
Yes, goes back to your identity.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. So it's like, I'm a black man.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So as a black man, I need to dot 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 dot
Yeah.
dot dot dot
Mm-mm.
dot.
We
So
can
I'm
break
walking in
molds.
with this
Yeah.
first, and that needs to always be prevalent. I'm a business owner, so I need to think dot 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 dot. I'm a homeowner, so I need to,
Yes.
be on top of this and be on top of that. Now, are there times where, as much as I'm saying this, it's like those thoughts come, but do I have to submit to those thoughts, or can I be wise enough to say,
Expansive. I
yeah,
used to be like, "Oh, I'm a nonprofit director. I can't do XYZ."
mhm,
Yeah, I'm a woman. I can't do XYZ.
mm,
But there was a time when I'm like, I don't know. I'm not that smart. I can't found a think tank. I was like, or I haven't worked in community development long enough. Where do I get off thinking I'm new to this, so I can't start my own thing?
mhm.
Um, but yeah, at some point you just have to reflect on to what extent those identities are, yeah, keeping you from maximizing your human potential.
And to me, and that's what I love also about our community. Because some
Mhm.
of my biggest inspirations is people that they just was doing it. You know what I'm saying? Just
Yeah.
just
There are
do it.
people who don't think about it.
No, not at all. They was just
I saw something like a meme that was like, if you're experiencing anxiety, that means you're not doing anything. You're just thinking.
I,
So, like, go do something. It doesn't mean you're not doing anything in life or in the world. It just means in that moment. Because if you were actively doing something, you wouldn't have time to be anxious.
I it's tough because I really, in the world of like, you learn from others.
Mhm.
So I have a family member I was caretaking that has struggled a lot in different mental illnesses, and it just was like I couldn't contextualize a lot of it Because I'm not saying I've never felt it, but I needed to. I'm a big context person almost with everything. So I see anxiety as fear of what could happen, and depression is like fears of what did happen.
Reliving what did happen
Yeah.
or what might happen.
So for me, after I kind of understood that, it helped me even engaged in some caretaking because it's almost like, hey, we gonna go outside tomorrow. It could rain. And it's like, damn, you know what I'm
Yeah, let
saying?
me rephrase that then. I'm not talking about like a clinical anxiety,
Yeah, I
like a
got you.
diagnosis. I mean, everyday generalized anxiety that
Like the
people
anxiousness of
Yeah.
like,
Which yeah.
should I fill out this grant application? Should I give this idea? And this is also
Yeah.
what I always uplift is Kari's been one of the boldest people about this, even as Colin said, your first album, you did your phone raiser. Ask your people for some bread. We always
Yeah.
think that money is in these foundations, these philanthropists, and all of these other people. Ask your people for some bread.
Well, then you know the true value of your work too. If you ask a bunch of people and nobody wants to support, you might want to rephrase your
No, I say cast a
rethink
bigger
your
net.
offering.
It's
Well,
people,
yeah, that too.
and also, like, I mean, obviously, don't go up and down your street saying, "Let me get 10 stacks," but share what it is, share what the
Yeah.
vision is, and you may be
That's why I
surprised how
said it
people
on
will
here.
give. You'll be surprised how many people will give. You know what I'm saying? Because people will be like, you know what? Let's do that. Because like these institutions, and that's what I like about Black Leaders Detroit too. They're not the only gatekeepers. It's like banks. Banks in the Black community, I don't even know why I have a bank account. Like, why are we even doing that? Like, seriously. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
You really bad. Can you pause? Or do you And I just said it. It's fine. It'll be hilarious.
Yes. I will clap here. All right. So I was just talking about like so much of looking at our community for different resources and also sometimes opening up what it is because we always think that cash is the one transaction. And it's always not like that. Like sometimes it's like, okay, you need money because you're thinking, I need some, I don't know, some chairs.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, okay, I ain't got the cash, but I can give you the chairs.
Yeah.
Need the money because you think you need a space. Hey, I got my homie, he just opened in a space. He needs some people to be there. Like it starts creating more community. And that's also why I think the other society had to create so many other middlemen, because if you're not a maker, back to the village and our people, then you need to figure out a way to get into the market. You see what I'm saying?
If you have no
Yeah.
marketable skill.
Yeah. Cause like if we're going back to a village and it's like, okay, I'm the drummer, you make herbs, you have a storyteller, and it's like, well, I help value all of these things, quantify. And it's like, technically, you need to make 100 drums to get one house. And it's like, nah, not really, because we need the drummer to be in a house.
Yeah.
So that we have a good drummer, because we don't need the drummer thinking about he getting rained on all day. Like, but these are the ways that societies quantify value and move things around differently. And this is definitely sounding so out there to others, but it makes so much sense if you're in community. And we've seen projects like that happen all the time. Like my very first like community thing I did was so much like that, when I was like maybe 8 years old. We did like a basketball game, and the ways that we went about everything and what we wanted to do and organize, it was like one of the sloppiest basketball games ever. But we sold tickets to the neighbors in the neighborhood and stuff like that. So it's like the community will pour in. It's just will we speak about it, and you'll think through a little bit more of those plans and seeing those journeys manifest. It's not as much as like these institutions that we've created to be gatekeepers aren't necessarily.
I think it's conditioned, it's learned dependency too, right? Now we're all conditioned to think that's the only way we can do anything. I've heard so many people be like, yeah, I applied for that grant and I didn't get it, so now that thing I was going to do isn't going to happen. Like, what do you mean?
I've applied for it. You'd be surprised some of the times people say, you ain't did that. And it's like, nah. And I've applied, but also back to like attitude and energy. It's like, I ain't no magical Negro. I already know the shit I'm going to say. It's going to piss some people off.
Oh, I will say I haven't gotten any of my grant money from, like, I don't do the contest.
Yeah.
Like, in my mind, I'm like, "I know these niggas. Why I'm not going in your contest."
Yeah.
I have presented my big vision,
Mhm.
and then I've been like, "How much of this can you break off?"
And see,
That's well, and it goes back to relationships too. I
Mhm.
haven't had to introduce myself to any of the people that have given me money thus far. They've been
yeah.
people who I've been, like, in a professional community with.
But see, that still to me goes back to social capital, but just at a
Totally.
different, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like me, it's like, yeah, Kari got tents when we need to do something with tents. Call
Mm.
Kari. And it's like, I got you. You know what I'm saying? When you have
Yeah.
resources to pay for the tents, I would like for you to pay for the tents because I can use
Yeah.
cash to make it other resources, but I'm not as committed to like, I gotta get this figure and this is what it is and da 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 da. Like, it's not like that, especially with the work I
Yes.
do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even the projects, like, like let's say you scale back and you already mentioned her, so I'll mention her. Audra's like, all right, I've taken over. So what's it gonna be? I would be like,
Yeah.
all right, Audra, this is like I told you, it's like, this is great. This is
Yeah.
good. This is what I can do. But in
Yeah.
reality, we gonna do it anyway. Come on, let's go. Cause I like being around creative energy because that helps me create.
Yeah. Yep. And I will say too, with the money I've been able to raise, it has served a bigger purpose as, like, validation for me,
Mm,
um, which is more important than the capacity to, like, buy stuff or pay
mhm,
people. It's like they're they're showing their belief in me and the vision. I'm like, "Oh, you think I can do all that?"
mhm.
Yeah, which gives me, fuels the fire to continue.
Yeah.
Um, 'Cause and most of the grants have been, like, repeat multi-year grants.
Mm,
Um, so I think that's something philanthropy learned from this ecosystem that you can't just give a one-time thing and be like, "Bye." So a lot of the grants are already, like, 2-year grants, but I mean, even within that, I've gotten a couple that have been like, "Here's 2 years," and then I go back and they're like, "Here's 2 more years."
mm.
And I think just that kind of longer term commitment just gives me more confidence. So yes, the money is good because I can then transact in the marketplace,
Yeah.
but also, it does a lot for, um, just my will to keep going.
But also, it's also like, I guess, this is another term. It's like how you come to community. Because if they
Yeah.
know, like, people kind of know me as business, I'm gonna
Mm.
do business with you. And I'm not saying that like anything else couldn't happen, but it functions differently the way people see you. Cause it's sometimes so
Yeah.
weird the way when people talk about who they think. It's like, cause so many people be like, Car, you trying to be like a media mogul. I'm like, hell no, I ain't trying to do that. I just want to
What's
be
wrong with being a media mogul?
cause
You have a whole network.
the image I got of media mogul is like,
You're making a new image of media mogul.
I would say
That was me being like, because sometimes, I wear funky clothes and big
yeah.
platforms and got tattooed knuckles. I'm like,
Mhm.
"Would a nonprofit CEO do this?" I'm like, "Well, you're a nonprofit CEO and you do this, so I guess so."
I would use
So,
the
like
term I would use the term, I would think that I'm still a storyteller, you know? And I
okay.
got all of these tools to tell these stories. But if I was, back before this, I was still the person talking to you all day about whatever nuance.
I don't think media mogul is bad. Does that mean like a Tyler Perry? Like you're gonna have I feel like you are working yourself towards a network.
I
What's wrong with being a media mogul who owns a network?
I can see it. I just don't use I wouldn't use that term. I'm still feel like I'm a storyteller. But I guess Tyler would probably
See,
feel
I
like that
guess
too.
what's gonna happen though, the universe is gonna be like, "All right, you still a storyteller." Here
Possibly.
are some storyteller circumstances and some storyteller opportunities, and I feel like, yeah, the mogul opportunities don't come until you embody and embrace that.
And that may be that. And it's I was on this panel, Build had me on this art panel.
Mhm.
And it's so interesting because this also goes kind of in that arc of struggle too. The bigger the check, the more it's always been more shit to it from in my journey. So
Mhm.
meaning like, and I guess I need to see it differently, but the
Correct. You're
others,
casting spells. Cast a
yeah,
new spell.
yeah. But it's been some shit connected to some of the other stuff.
Yeah, but, my
Whereas I
question would
love my
be
autonomy. That's
my
what I love.
question would be though, are these opportunities you've had, like, with a client? Or are they you pursuing your vision
Mm.
and then getting resources? It's some client shit, isn't it?
Client
We're
shit,
doing that
always.
client shit. You're a visionary.
Okay.
You're a visionary. So figure out how, like, what the vision is, and we've discussed a little bit of it. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that after.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you resource the vision versus like, because essentially in the marketplace, like someone else has a vision and they're fitting you into it. They're like, I'm going to do this thing, and I need this part of it. You
Mhm.
know, I need a technical expert to do this one piece of it, but it's essentially like you're helping fulfill their vision.
But see, that's where I think I thrive best, in that collaborative creativity. Because it's like
Mm,
I'm getting in spaces.
yeah.
I almost feel like back to my music days. It's like music production or recording somebody in the studio. It's like I'd have
Mhm.
never even thought about doing a song like this. But damn, he came in and he sampled some
Mm,
gospel music. Let's figure out how to put some, you know what I'm saying, some touch on this.
yeah.
Where do we align? Because like sometimes in that collaborative creativity, I get a flow where it's like, okay, I
Okay.
like this shit. You know what I'm saying? But that's,
Mhm.
that's how I look at great client experiences.
Uh-huh.
We are getting into that creative mode.
Uh-huh.
We're seeing
Okay.
where we can create together and collaborative.
Mhm.
Like even, and you saw, shout out to Demarie. Love Demarie. Demarie was working with
He's
me
an
on that.
interesting character.
Oh yeah, Demarie is such a, I'm learning so
He's like
much
an
from him.
avatar. Like, is that dude a cartoon character? What is
Yay. Hey, he is interesting and very
is his
creative.
voice, his look
Yeah.
very like
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like also it's like now it's like I got, I mean he grown as hell, but I got younger folks working with me that also have an impact on like how I show them what I'm doing collaboratively with creativity. So it like expands almost like new chambers that I never thought of.
mm, mhm. The mentoring.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, for
Exactly.
sure.
And it's like, damn, you know what I'm saying? And the pressure they put on themselves, because it's interesting, younger people putting pressure on what they see as success and where they want to be. And I'm like, damn, how
Interesting.
do I tell him, look,
That's not the path.
yeah, it's like just embrace doing cool shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I know this was, like I say, this was a very philosophical but fun discussion. It didn't even go to places that you all thought. You thought Lauren Hood and it was gonna be a F the man show. I'm just,
Ah,
and still F the man. But
yes, yes, through living our best lives. That's a
exactly.
giant F the man.
Exactly.
Mhm.
You got that right. So now this is the classic question that I always ask on the second one. We already sort of kind of did it, but
Hmm.
now I can throw it out to you. Spaceship lands right in front of your house. Alien gets out and say, take me to some Detroit places. Where you taking them?
Ew. Um, that's a good one. What first came to mind was the riverfront, but I was
Okay.
like, that's too new. What I
Okay.
like about the riverfront, I always say it's one of my favorite places because it's like a leveler. Like it's old and young, rich, poor, black, white, Indian, Middle Eastern. Like you see men, women.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know. I love that about it. It's like free to engage and it offers something.
Hmm.
And then my mind went to Belle Isle, but also for the same reasons.
Okay.
So I feel like those are places, even though they're not necessarily Detroity, because every city has a riverfront.
Mm.
Huh. Now I'm trying to think what's a signature Detroit place I would take them. I don't know. Nothing else popped up in my head.
Okay. Belle Isle is the
Mm-hmm.
most answered location
Interesting.
when people say I'm hanging with ET.
Yeah, that's where you want to bring them. Well, it's also like I don't know if this is still true. I was gonna say a good slice of Detroit culture. So the Belle Isle I grew up with
Okay.
before the state took it over,
Okay.
it was a very free and open space.
Yes.
But I don't know if it's still.
So you would be on the strip in a spaceship.
Oh my gosh. Yes, with the music and the food and somebody's family reunion picnic. Do you know how many times, maybe just a couple, but like some random family is having a picnic and you and your friend just walk up and they're like, get
Yeah.
a plate.
Yeah.
We're like, we just saw that you were, and they're like, come on.
Mhm. But
It's
back
great.
to community. That's how we
Mhm.
are. We gonna give you some food, especially like a certain age. I got some family members, boy, you ain't never leaving. It's like, damn, I ain't even trying to eat nothing.
That's what I would have to show them. And, like, maybe when would be the ideal time? Maybe, like, Sunday night around 7 o'clock,
Mm.
or maybe Saturday around that time. I don't know, twilight seems to be a good time.
Okay. All right, yeah. I guess he can turn on them lights of that spaceship and people that story
I
live
feel
on
like
for
it would be a
forever.
light show with techno music. You'd be like, "I can get down with this," and then
Okay. All right. Throw on the good life.
Mhm.
House heads be out there dancing and stuff. Be like, ET can't dance. I am with it. This is a Detroit is different. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kari, this was great.
Yep. Peace.
Detroit, Detroit is different. Detroit, Detroit